Hey, friends. Lindy here. Hope y'all are doing great today. You know, I talked to you earlier this week on our community page and said that I had two videos coming up for you, a cooking video and a candle making video. Well, this first one, the cooking video, I think you're going to enjoy this recipe. Now, this recipe that I'm making for you today, they're called Cottage Cheese Dessert Pancakes. And the recipe came from my Farm Journal Thrifty Cookbook. And this was edited by Nell B. Nichols. And if y'all remember, gosh, a month ago, I went through my whole Farm Journal cookbook collection because I have quite a few of these cookbooks. So I made this recipe, a month ago. And it made quite a bit of batter. And so over the course of the weekend, I got out my griddle and I just kept the batter in the refrigerator and made these pancakes as I wanted them. And I ate these things all weekend. I made them sweet, I made them savory. They were so good, and my family loved them so much too that it's something that sometimes they'll request. And you know, my kids are grown now and not home as much, but they loved them, and they have asked me to make them several more times for them since then. So I'm going to make them for you, because I think you're really going to enjoy this too. And don't worry, follow the recipe along at first if you want to by watching, but I'm going to leave the recipe down in the description box for you, so you don't worry about writing it down, because I've got you. I'll help you out with that. So this is cottage cheese dessert pancakes, and I'm going to read something to you that's written in here. It says cottage cheese pancakes for dessert. And it says, for dessert and an otherwise light meal, have cottage cheese pancakes. Serve them hot with butter or margarine and cinnamon and sugar, or jelly, jam, or fruit preserves. Bake them on the electric grill at the table if you like, and deliver really hot cakes. This dessert takes advantage of an increasing importance of cottage cheese, an excellent protein food, as an ingredient in cooking. And then I wanted to tell you too, there's also a recipe in here for cottage cheese cupcakes. And I made those back during oh goodness, it was on May Day. It was on May the 1st. I made some cottage cheese cupcakes and I put strawberries in them. They were so good. And it's amazing because I've never, except for just eating cottage cheese on its own or in lasagna, trying to think of how else I've really eaten cottage cheese. I've never really used it in baking before until now, and it's going to be part of my repertoire because it's that tasty. And this talks about having them as a sweet, but I'll tell you, one of the best ways of eating them that I found was to make them just as the recipe says, but get you some marinara sauce and dip those pancakes in the marinara sauce. And then so that cheese, that cottage cheese in there mixed with that marinara, it was so good. It was so good. So let me show y'all how to make it right quick. This calls for 1 cup of flour. And so I've got my 1 cup measure here. This is self-rising flour. It also calls for baking powder and salt, but you don't need baking powder and salt if you're using self-rising flour. So that's what this is self-rising flour. So I've got 1 cup of self-rising flour. So I've got my little measuring bowl, popping my flour in there, and then next up, 2 cups of small curd cottage cheese. Now this is 16 ounces, so that is 2 cups, so it's going to take this whole container. So, oops, I should have wore an apron. So there's our cottage cheese, and this is whole milk cottage cheese. So we're going to put that in our bowl. And then it says 4 eggs, well beaten, and then 1/3 of a cup of milk. Now, I'm out of regular milk, but I do have some half and half. So you're ever out of regular milk and you have cream or half and half, you can take half a container of the cream or half and half and then mix a little bit of water in there to make up the difference. So let me go get some water right quick. All right. And I'm going to upload this video sort of early today. Let's see, it's 11 o'clock right now. I'm going to edit it and get it uploaded early so that maybe if you want to use it to soothe yourself to sleep, you can do that. But if you don't, you can watch it and learn how to make these pancakes and then make them tonight for supper if you like. So let's move these things over here. And now we need our 4 beaten eggs. And I just happen to have 4 eggs left. I need to go to the store. So I'm going to crack my 4 eggs into this little 1 cup measuring cup right here that I have, just to save on dishes. No need to get a clean dish to do this in. You can use a dirty one. I might set this aside. Hang on, let me get a fork. Okay, so now we got to beat those eggs. Let me set that aside. I'm gonna mix these eggs together well. Now, if you need to eat gluten-free, I'm sure that you could make this recipe gluten-free, but you would have to ask somebody who knows how to do it, because I don't cook gluten. I cook gluten-free, I don't bake gluten-free, so I don't know enough to tell you about it, but I know there are several blogs and websites, and our own Auntie Angel has to cook gluten-free often, so she could be one who might tell us an equivalent to use. I think you can use rice flour instead. I know you can use almond flour. I'm not sure how they would turn out, but it's always fun to experiment and see. So this has a really interesting lumpy texture here. See that? So I'm just going to mix this well, and I'm going to go ahead. I've got my griddle on here, and I'll move it back when I get through working in this space. But I'm going to turn my griddle up a little bit higher so that it can start heating up so that we can fry these on the griddle. And now you can see I'm not using my Pyrex anymore. I filmed a video for you when my daughter and I discovered that it does have lead in it. I just haven't uploaded it yet because it's not. I mean, this is an ASMR channel, and I realize that, you know, what I'm doing right now probably isn't the typical ASMR, but I think sometimes, even if you don't have the meridian response, the tingles, ASMR can also be used, especially if it's a soft-spoken, kind of quiet, droning on voice. It can be used to decrease anxiety and stress, and that's what I use it for a lot. And sometimes if I find somebody who's just doing something in their kitchen or going about a task and they're talking, I find that very comforting. And so I hope you do too. But anyway, back to the Pyrex. Let's dial it back in, Lindy. So the Pyrex video that I filmed for you, where we used the lead kit to find out if it all had lead or not in it, it's not a very ASMR video, and so I've kind of struggled on how to present that to you all. But rest assured, every single piece of Pyrex that I own presented with lead. Now, it was not inside, it was on the outside of all of my bowls, so it was on the paint, but I just went ahead and put it away because, you know, if you know better, you try to do better. And I realize there's probably such a little small amount of it in most of them that it's not going to hurt us, but it feels weird to use it now, especially the one that was my favorite, the butter print was my very favorite one to use, and it has the most lead. And I used, well, I'll show it to you right quick here. Get it down without getting a chair out, so I won't. But anyway, the butter print, I use that bowl all the time to put in my microwave to melt butter before I baked things. And so with me I'm gonna start a fire here with my griddle. With me touching that lead paint on the outside and then possibly like mixing something like hamburger meat to make a meatloaf or chicken salad, I'm not going to take a chance on that anymore. So anyway, if y'all do what you want to with that information, but I will put that video up at some point. So okay, so we've got our batter all mixed up and ready to rock and roll. This is a lot of batter, and I can't possibly eat all that by myself, so this would make several days worth of pancakes just for me, but I'll probably make some later for my husband and daughter too. So what you're going to do next is you'll need to grease your griddle. This is an old Presto griddle that's been around for quite some time, and I like to get it out on occasion and cook stuff up like this. So probably have it too hot, so this is probably going to sizzle like crazy. Let's turn it down just a little bit. There we go. We're going to put that butter on here and grease it up real good. It's a non-stick surface, but a little butter makes everything taste a little better, so let's let that melt. And then what I like to do if I'm making pancakes, I like to try to use something, a measure that's the same every time, so that all of my pancakes are basically about the same size. So I'm going to use this 1/3 measuring cup, and I'm going to put the batter out here and let these cook. And it takes a little while to get them to where they're done all the way through. Turn it back up a little bit. But the cottage cheese makes them kind of stringy inside and cheesy inside. And that's what makes it so good. And so, again, if you wanted to make it a savory meal, you could use something like marinara sauce. You could even roll up a little piece of ham and cheese inside of it. Cheese might be too much, but a little piece of ham would be good if you wanted to make it savory. You could even add herbs, of course, to your batter, and then that would make it taste really good. But if you wanted to make it sweet, I have some real maple syrup, and then I also used honey on it too. And then of course I used strawberry jam. I tried it with that, and I sprinkled a little bit of cinnamon on it. But I never did put any sugar inside of the batter because I love to eat sweets, not nearly as much as I used to, but I'd rather it not be too sweet. And so I'd rather the pancakes just stand on their own, and then whatever I dip them into or sprinkle on top be the sweetness. So these are just cooking along here. Just about ready to flip. Don't want to flip them too early because you make a big old mess if you flip it too quickly. It'll spill over and make a mess. This reminds me a little bit of something my friend's mother used to make for us when we were kids. I'd go spend the night with her, and her mother would make a big old pan of biscuits, and then she'd make chocolate gravy. Have y'all ever had chocolate gravy? Well, sorry, the smoke from this is getting to me. The chocolate gravy was just made with Hershey's chocolate, and butter and probably milk, and that's all. And she made it on the stovetop. But that was the best thing. And so, have y'all ever had that before? You have to let me know. That was always a treat to go to Terry's house and have Miss Helen make us some chocolate gravy and biscuits. Alright, so they're all three ready to flip now. So I'm going to cook them on this other side. And let me get a plate out. Keep cooking for a few more minutes. And again, if you ever see this at a used bookstore, or if you want to look online, I think Thrift Books is still in existence, but Amazon used books may have it too. But it's the Farm Journal, the Thrifty Cookbook, and it's tasty budget recipes, and you can see I have marked a bunch of the recipes that I like to use in here, and there's some good ones. There's some real good ones. There's granola. I've made this granola before. This one's called Scotia Oat Squares, and the lady found the recipe in Nova Scotia, and it calls for oats and graham flour and some sugar. And it just looks really good too, so I'll probably make that sometime as well. There's all kinds of good things in there. So let's check out our little pancakes and see how they're coming along. They're almost done. It's getting to be about lunchtime, so I'll probably have these myself for lunch. I'll cook up a few extra for Chris for supper tonight. But there's just so much fun to go into the kitchen and cook up a little something like this and experiment. Even if you aren't really sure about your cooking abilities, you don't have to have any. You just get a cookbook, get a recipe, and follow the recipe and see what you can come up with. And that's all cooking is just throwing some things together and seeing if it tastes right. So no need to be intimidated by it. We all have to eat, so we all need to learn how to cook. Especially with the prices these days. I read something that it cost nearly $100 for a family of 4 to go have a meal at the Olive Garden now, because the prices have gone up so much. And I prefer to eat at home. I don't know about y'all. I mean, it's great fun to go out to eat. But when I was a kid, we did not go out to eat. I mean, it was a very, very rare special occasion for us to even go to McDonald's. And when I met my husband, his family went out to eat almost every Friday night and Saturday night too. And I thought that was the greatest thing ever, to get to go out to eat with all these people and have fun. And so we did that for a long time. But then as we've gotten older, neither one of us like to go out to eat anymore like we used to. We much prefer to stay home because, first of all, we cook better than most restaurants do. That's not a brag. That's just, the ingredients just aren't as good anymore. And second of all, we'd rather just be here. So, and it's much cheaper. So, okay, so these are done. I'm gonna put these on the plate. And then turn that off, move it aside before I burn myself here. So that's what the little cottage cheese pancakes look like. And let me see. They're not too big. Let me cut it in half and I'll see if I can show you. Okay. Well, you probably can't really see that, but it's cheesy because of all that cottage cheese in there. And so again, that's a good way if if you want to avoid meat and you want to get your protein, that's a good way to get some protein into your diet too, by making those little cottage cheese pancakes. So I can't wait to eat this here in a few minutes. It's so good. I think the best part is the melty cheese taste in your mouth, but also cooking it with a little bit of real butter makes a difference too in how they taste. It has added a little bit of salty flavor to it, so it makes it taste very good. So I'm going to dip that in some marinara sauce that I have in the refrigerator, and that's going to make a very tasty lunch. I hope y'all enjoyed that. If you have any questions, be sure to leave them in the comment section below. And then if you would do me a big favor and hit the like button on this video, I would certainly love it. I would certainly appreciate it. And let me know what you're up to today. Tell me about what you've got going on. You know, today is July the 1st, and so it's Canada Day in Canada. On the 4th, it's going to be Independence Day here in the United States, and so we've got plans to go out to the parade and probably go watch some fireworks later. So we've got some big festivities planned, but let me know what your plans are. I'd love to know. Y'all take care, my friends, and I'll see you on the next video.